Car SOS is perhaps the most emotional bit of car telly you can watch, where the team secretly sneak away an abandoned loved project car from someone who's a bit down on their luck, struggling with life a bit, restore it in secret, and with the help of their family, unveil it in a grand finale at the end of the episode. It's proper tugging at your heartstrings type stuff, and great car telly as well. It's back for its 11th series on the 9th of March, and we've managed to get an interview with the stars of the show, Fuzz Townshend and Tim Shaw, to find out more about what we can expect. But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So click the link below at the end of the video to enter their latest competition. So take my glasses off, don't need these for a screen. So Fuzz, Tim, hi, how are you doing?
Yeah,
you doing,
very
mate?
good,
All right,
thank you,
good to
Joe.
see you,
Yeah,
Joe.
how's it going?
Good to see you both. So obviously, Car SOS 11 series now.
And haven't we aged? Don't we look terrible? Look,
You've aged very gracefully, Tim.
no
Yeah.
way. No,
Yeah,
my wife was full ostrich. You've got the full ostrich.
Yeah.
Look at that.
God,
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's more aerodynamic though, Fuzz. That's good for air.
Yeah.
That.
It is, yeah,
Your-
totally. And
Your fuel economy must be brilliant.
He has a lot of flaps and things that slow him down. He's got a lot of spoilers.
Oh dear. So obviously, after so long, 11 series in, we've been promised with this new series a lot of fresh cars, fresh banter, fresh celebrities.
Biggest series to date, without a doubt.
There you go, Tim. You've basically asked my question for me, which is what can we expect? What makes this series so big and so exciting?
Proof that the show is still growing and growing and growing is the fact that we've had so much. We've had so many people who are very well known around the planet have been so keen to help out because they realise that what we're doing, what Fuzz and I are doing, is part of a teamwork of people that are just doing a lovely thing for a deserving person. So we've had the likes of, something tells me you might be a boxing fan, Joe. Am I right?
Yes, you could say that. There's a little.
Now, where would I?
Damn
it, you saw
something.
it. So Tyson Fury and his dad are both big fans of Car SOS, and they helped us out with a little thing. They've made an appearance in an episode for a guy who's also, a big boxing fan and a car fan. And Nigel Mansell's been in this episode. Jay Leno is also a fan.
The thing about Tyson Fury is because Tim's very, very tall. Tyson Fury makes Tim look like a child, this big
Tyson Fury is about 16'4", isn't he? So that
that's right. That's right. And I'm only 16'3". And also we only ever go after any form of celebrity at the idea of the person who's with Car SOS, when they sit down to watch the episode, we love the idea that when they're watching their hour episode about them and about their car and about the reveal, for one of the loves of their lives in terms of celebrities to pop up and go, because we had it with Paul McCartney last year. I love the idea that Darren sat down to watch it and went, what the hell? That's Darren. That's Paul McCartney on my episode.
And it's all about
exactly. So for the people who've been nominated, it's a real treat. I mean, they kind of don't get to see it until the very end. But what is hopefully going to be a great moment for them, even better still. Then I think that's
it's really the icing on the cake. Exactly.
But the reality is we've got. I would say our biggest restoration, our biggest saving of a classic car to date, which happened to be a 65 fastback Mustang, which happens to be my favorite car, along with a 356 Porsche. But anyway, so to do my favorite car and to do it with our biggest reveal yet ever in front of 10 or 12,000 people that are packed out Millennium Dome, or O2 Arena as it's now called,
that was
the monster truck. Yeah, that was we had 10,000 people in tears. And we didn't know that because Fuzz and I go into this zone of, let's just give the person their car back. Forget who's around us. Nobody's here. There are no cameras here. This is all about the person. This is all that matters. And you look up and there are thousands and thousands of people all in tears. And you're like, oh, yes, we're doing Car SOS. God, here we are.
This is a really special moment.
It's great. It's not just the reveal, but the fact that another show, another organization was happy enough to let us barge in the middle of their choreographed show, just take over their stage for a few moments, for 10 minutes or something like that. That's really, that doesn't happen.
It's a first.
They kind of get what Car SOS does. And suddenly it was about this one guy who was just down in the middle of this arena, who'd gone to that show. Suddenly
dragged out.
Yeah, the focus was on him, and just what a great guy he.
That's what I like about the show, is that, like you say, quite apart from the celebrity element to make it special for the person, it's actually a very grounded show. Ultimately, you're not trying to make a profit, you're not trying to set a world record. It's just about doing something nice for someone deserving, and for the love of cars as well. Probably the nicest thing about it. But talking about the actual love of the thing, Tim, you said that obviously the Mustang is your favourite car on the show. Fuzz, this series coming up, of all the cars in it, which one would you have liked to have kept for yourself? Which was your favourite?
People will think that I'm just going to go for the oldest car, because generally speaking, that is what I like. I'm going to go for the Porsche 911, the Porsche 911 Turbo, 1973.
Yes.
Now, I would not normally go for that sort of thing, but actually,
Targa S. It was the S.
That's about as modern as I would go, with a Porsche. But I liked the engine. That's it. I like the engine. Simple as that. That's all there is about it. Underneath it, it's a Beetle. Get over it. It's a Beetle.
You were. I mean, the thing for Mike.
Here we go. He's going to start.
You've caused some offence, I think.
No, yeah, you have caused some offence. You've ripped me. I'm sitting outside the engine builders.
That's what they are. That's what they are. Okay, so maybe
whatever.
This tube's longer. That bolt doesn't fit there. Whatever. It's a Beetle.
The only
engines are absolutely magnificently engineered, and I would like to sit and look at one of those in my garage and go, "Wow, do you know what? That's great." In fact, I'm going to take it out of the garage and I'm going to go around. I'm going to go for a little pootle in that because that's great. I think that those Porsche engines, out of those air-cooled Porsche engines, are a thing of beauty.
Absolutely.
Right. Just a little comment on that. The only transferable crossover component between the pre-911 and the 356 and a Beetle is the ignition coil. Nothing else. Nothing else.
I bet there's some bolts I can make to fit.
No, yeah, no chance.
Yeah, I won't start a marital, chaps, but the quite interesting for us, because you said the engine of that car sort of fascinates you so much, despite the fact that a lot of it doesn't. With this series coming up, obviously, I appreciate when you're restoring the cars in the workshop. Obviously, Tim does most of the work, so it's quite hard for you to get your hands on.
You know the show well.
Yeah, you know.
On the rare occasion you managed to get some spanners on a car, what was the hardest job this series, you think? Of all the jobs you've done, all the cars, what was the hardest one job, a repair or a replacement or whatever? Well,
there were two hard jobs. One that I didn't do, but I know it was a hard job, and that was the pearlescent paint on the Renault Alpine GTA. And I'm no painter, but actually, I think Tim would be pretty good at doing something like that, because if you give him a task to do, he'll get himself prepped and he'll get into it. The thing that was really tricky was we did a Riley RME. And we decided to fit a sort of standalone overdrive unit, getting the inputs and outputs to line up properly, the flanges to all go together smoothly, so that when you start driving, there's no vibration. It's a very tricky task, and it was trial and error as we went to try and get this to mount properly and to be cushioned, to have enough give in it without it suddenly sending everything out into vibration zone. So it was a tricky task, and I quite liked that. It was just one of those things that reminded me of probably when, I suppose, people were putting cars together by hand. It was a matter of finding out if things worked first of all, and then getting them to, then once they're in, improving them so that everything works really smoothly. And also the overdrive unit itself is a lovely piece of engineering in its own right, using things like dial test indicators to check run out kind of thing. And it's amazing how a tiny little bit of run out, just as you're turning at a sort of very slow speed, can turn into a monster vibration. It is that fine detail.
And obviously, the other fine detail of Car SOS, not just in the cars, is the other part, is the stories, it's the people. There's been a lot of real sort of, plucking at your heartstrings over the years on the show.
This series, were there any particular stories that stood out for you? Anyone that was... Which one was that then?
Do you know what? I get massively emotionally involved in the episodes, and I understand why Fuzz almost has to keep himself at a distance from me because I sit down and do the interviews. If all of a sudden I went up to Fuzz and said, "Fuzz, this Jeep that we're doing up here happens to be the most important. It's been owned by insert name of the most famous megastar on the planet," and whatever it is, it would have an impact on the way that Fuzz would be working because all of us, we know this from the early series when we had the little sprite in.
Oh,
we
the
know,
Austin Healey Sebring sprite from the 1962 and 63.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we discovered that Steve McQueen and a few other guys, and we were like, oh my God. And so it had an impact on the workshop and the guys working on the car and on Fuzz. So kind of what we do is, in a way, I don't want to say I keep the story from Fuzz. I tell Fuzz the story, but I don't go into too much detail about the emotion of what's just happened during the interview and what have you, because it would slow us down. So I get massively emotionally involved with everyone's stories. But we did a Jeep Grand Cherokee, which was 2002. Ooh. And for a guy called Stefan, who lost both his legs. He was a foot soldier in Afghanistan, and he was just the coolest guy. You know, sometimes there are people you meet in life who just have an impact on you, and you just think you're everything that you would want somebody in our military to be. And he was just the coolest, best looking dude you've ever met, the nicest, most down to earth, tough guy. And I was just looking at him thinking, you know what? You are precisely who we do this for, whether it's for you or whether it's for, you know, Darren with the Mondeo. I get so involved in all of them, but if you mention one right here and now, you know, I think of Stefan with the Jeep, and I do think of all of them. Sorry, I just, you know,
when we give the car back, you really get to see the person that you're doing the work for with their guard down in a way. And you get to see what they mean to their friends and to their family and vice versa, and you being allowed into a very personal space, I think, at that moment, and that is special. That is special. That is a privilege to be able to be allowed to be so close.
Yeah, lulling you somewhere without you being suspicious, and then returning your car to you without you getting you right to that moment where you're standing in front of cameras and you still don't know, and you're in a space that you know well because you watch Car SOS and you love the show. There's so much pressure on us to get it right, and I personally, because I'm usually the one that gets my arm around and say, "Hello, mate, this is your car." I have sleepless nights over every single one. I barely sleep the night before because it means so much to get it right.
I bet, and it's a really special thing you do for them as well. So I think it's absolutely incredible. I'll tell you what, we'll end on a very last quickfire question then. Couple of cars this series, the Mondeo you're doing, and the Jeep in particular. Yeah. There's a lot of these cars now where they're at the tipping point where it's kind of you need to save it because you love it, not because it's a money making exercise. So quick fights from both of you. Which 90s, noughties, disappearing, emerging classic should we all be buying? Which one should we save? What should we buy now?
Good question. A Renault Alpine absolutely is a car that if you want to get a lot of car for the money and you want a car that will turn heads and you're very clearly in the classic car world, spend 15 grand and get yourself an Alpine GTA and you will get a very much a classic car that will still go to a car show and get people talking to you. And that's why we love classic cars, not just for the driving, the ownership, the repair of them, but also the social aspect of it. The Lupo GTI for me.
Lupo GTI. Oh, good man.
Yeah. What about those early Dacia things, those pickups? Well, I haven't seen one of those for years. In fact, I'm just wondering if I've actually imagined them. I'm pretty sure that I haven't.
If anyone's got one, you need to do one on the next series.
It was great to do a Mondeo because, like the Sierra before them, they just disappear. They just go.
They were everywhere and now they're nowhere. Exactly. Yeah.
Final one, and you'll agree, Fuzz, you've owned one. I currently own one. It turns more heads than anything you drive. People point and laugh at them, despite the fact that I've got a cup super glued to the top of mine.
We bring you the...
Go on.
Be it.
Multiplier.
Hey,
the first one.
Get one of those in your life, and you will go from being an absolute hater to going.
Fantastic.
This thing is great, actually. This.
Oh, they are. I drive mine every day. Plus, the Series 1, the first ones, are now twice the price of the second ones because they've got the Admiral Akbar lights.
They've got the styling. Exactly.
That's
what you want.
Yeah.
Well, I can find no better line to close on than buy a multiplier. Fantastic. Well, Fuzz, Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you both so much for your time.
It's our pleasure.
Good luck with Car SOS from now on, and keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. Brilliant.
We'll attempt to. Thank you very much, Joe.
Brilliant. Thank you,
All
gents.
the best. See you
Cheers,
later.
Take care. Have a good one.
This video is proudly sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Give them a call on 01480 400 889 for an insurance quote on your classic car. And don't forget to click the link below to enter their latest competition.